Une épopée des plus brillantes exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much, Martin. So if everybody will take their seats, we'll get started. So I call the meeting to order. It is 9:05 a.m. on Saturday, June the 3rd, Toronto time, actually. Okay, at this time, I'm actually going to call Gordon Greenwood to the podium to just remember those who have passed since the last 2016 AGM as of June 2016, actually. So, Gordon, please.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as far as we are aware, and most times we have to rely on what we hear, Fabio Cementilli is the only one that we'll be speaking of today. If any of you are aware of anyone else who's passed, we would ask you to stand, mention their name, and then we'll take a moment of silence for everyone. So, it has been in the media, it has certainly been broadcast by the companies for which he worked, by the magazines. Everyone has held tribute to Fabio Cementilli. And for those of you who didn't know him, he was 30 years old in stylist years, because it was 30 years ago this year that he was certified by the Ontario College of Trades. That, so far as we are concerned, and I believe so far as he was concerned, was the start of his real life. That those of us who have crossed his path, we feel sorrow for our loss. For those of us who knew him, we feel sorry for those who won't get the benefit of knowing him and his mentorship. He was caring and he was sharing, and he was the epitome of, I think, what it means to be branded a professional beauty stylist, cosmetologist. And Morella last night asked everyone who knows of someone who is starting out, who is having trouble, who needs assistance, for you to take them under your wing. And in his name, we would ask you to do that. So is there anyone else who knows of anyone else who has passed? Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you to take a moment of silence to remember our friend, Fabio Cementilli. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. I guess this is the part where I get to speak to you for a little while, so be patient, bear with me. I'll try to make it not too long, and then we'll get started with the rest of the items. So I'd just like to welcome everybody actually this morning, and thank you for taking time out of your weekend. I know that Saturdays is not really an easy time for people to come out, and there's a lot of family things going on, but I really appreciate the turnout. Thank you very, very much. As I sat down actually to write a speech, and I don't know if I want to call it a speech, but I want to call it sort of a message actually to the membership, so that we are all focused and that we know where we want to go going forward. I think it's so important. I Actually, the message that I want to deliver is very similar to the one that I delivered last year, if people were present, if they remember what the message was, that we actually need to work together, really, to build our new association. I think it's very, very important going forward. That would be united, and we would be very strong as well. The organizing committee has put a lot of effort in creating this new and different looking AGM. If you guys have noticed already, we're trying to bring a new flair, a new look to it as well. Having said that, they had a very, very tight budget, as you might know. Things aren't always rosy in the pockets of the AGM. But thanks to Kevin O'Regan, they had Kevin to work with actually in organizing this, which in my eyes is always just a challenge, just trying to work with him as a treasurer. So thank you for this event, Kevin, and thank you for what you allowed us to put together. I'd also like to take a moment to say thanks to Steph, Liz, and the organizing committee for everything they have done for the members and the event this weekend as well. Thank you. I would like to start giving you a couple of highlights that happened in the last 12 months, actually. I'm not going to go into too much detail. A lot of these things that we will probably discuss here or I'll talk about, you'll probably see more of it come this morning later on and this afternoon as well. So, as you know, we've been operating without a GM at the ABA since January of 2016. We have since then also put an HR committee into place consisting of 3 board members. The 3 board members that actually head up that HR committee are Tiffany Pitamata, Jack Ingraham, and Sandra Fiore as well. We completed and implement new job descriptions for the entire staff at the ABA to better serve the membership. Thank you to the HR committee for all their hard work and dedication in getting this done and implemented as well. We've completed and updated in most cases and developed from scratch new policies and procedures manuals as it relates to the day-to-day operations of the office, accounting, shows, events, and social media as well. We have added a board position of vice chair just recently at our meeting yesterday, and I'd like to say congratulations to Tiffany Pitamata, which will be the acting vice chair. She couldn't be here with us today, but she will, in the next year or so, be training alongside with me as well. We will be working together, and this will give her the opportunity to provide continuing and better serve the membership going forward as well. We have launched a new, completely redesigned website to allow us to communicate more effectively with our board members and others who visit the site, keeping more current in this ever-changing environment that we live in. I also wanted to say to Edward, that the website, again, is totally bilingual, as we promised at the last year's AGM. We are continuing updating the show and events regulations to better address the changing dynamics in our professional industry. We have been very flexible to stay current, especially with continuing mergers and acquisitions that are happening in our industry. We formed a new show and events committee, which is working on developing and delivering events outside of our traditional ABA show format so that we can better serve professional cosmetologists and our membership in less populated areas across Canada. A trial event is booked for Edmonton, October 1st and 2nd of 2017, as we start down this road. The event will be called BeautyEx, powered by the ABA. This is the first step on the road to real change. We have put in position or in place an association and board representing 5 categories of voting memberships instead of 4 that we've had in the past. Just for those of you who don't know what these categories are, I will just run through them very quickly. The first one is the professional manufacturer category, which is supported by 8 advisory council members. These members are Andrea Simpson, and you'll also notice, as you go along and throughout the day, that we've color-coded the badges. And I think to make it easier so that we know who these people are, the professional manufacturers actually are wearing pink badges. So if you see anybody with a pink badge, they're part of that manufacturer category. So the advisory council consists of 8 people: Andrea Sampson, Jack Ingraham, Mario Thero, Mike Riley, Susan Ketty, Tiffany Pitamata, Melissa Daniels, Bernardino Alberucci, and the council's board members are currently Jack Ingraham, Susan Ketty, and Tiffany Pitamata as well. The other category that we created, and they're wearing green name tags, are the professional distributor category, which is supported by 8 advisory council members. These members are Edwards, Slattery, Paul Williams, Vince Reverso, Peter Alexander, Graham Kenny, Bruno Roquette, Brian Aarons, and David Kaufman. The current board members for this professional distributor council are Edward Slattery, Vince Reverso, and Brian Aarons. The professional associate category, and you'll know who they are by the blue name tags, which is supported by 5 advisory council members: Ernie, Pozobon, Mike Scamberi, Sandra Fiore, Scott Moon. And the current board member for the professional advisory associate is Sandra Fiore. Other categories, a professional cosmetologist, and they're wearing orange name tags, which is supported by 6 advisory council members, who are Anthony Zachariah, Kelly Kalmbach, Megan Gustafin, Renee Thackeray, Lena Shimon, and Morella Rhoda. The current board member for the professional cosmetology is Kelly Kalmbach. Other category is the professional owner, managers, and schools. They have the gray name tags on throughout the conference. And this category, depending on what the members decide, may actually change today. So that'll be something that we'll be addressing, which is supported by 6 advisory council members who are Alex Fortino, Joe Cairo, Rocco Campanero, Starlet Tolver, Tim Scholter, and Suzanne Martin. And the current board member for the owners, managers, schools is Joe Cairo. I want to say thank you to all the advisory council members and to the board members for all the time and effort they have put into shaping the new direction of the ABA in the past year. It has not been easy, and I can say that it really has been a year of learning for all of us. I must say that your involvement over the next year will be of a greater magnitude as we roll out the 3 to 5 year ABA plan. Please stay tuned. We have new internal structure and strategies within the ABA office to better service our members and adapt to changing time in our industry, in order to support our vision as well as the immediate and future needs of our industry. Stephanie Gabois is our show and event manager, Liz Boudagine, our administration manager, Samantha Sage, our marketing and communications coordinator, and Samantha Singh, our controller. Sabrina. I keep thinking Samantha. I got Samantha on my mind. I don't know. Lucky my wife isn't here. We continue to build strong links with the PBA, known as the Professional Beauty Association, our U.S. counterpart. They have impressive amounts of information and practices, and we continue to exchange a wide variety of responsibilities between these 2 associations. They look to some of our programs and initiatives and their road forward as well. We share a common goal, promotion of the professional beauty industry, and as a whole, as a famiglia, as we say in Italian. We continue to grow our privileged relationship with the CCTFA, which has actually been rebranded and now are known as the Cosmetic Alliance of Canada during the past year. We are operating on a completely rewritten set of bylaws, and their tweaking from time to time is still necessary to keep us current. These bylaws allow us to better meet your needs, encompass the entire industry, and allow members to better control the ABA as we move forward. Our spring shows, they continue to take flight. Toronto. I must say that Toronto has been the best show of cosmetologists that we've seen in years. Just shy of 6,000 attended. The show floor was buzzing with excitement, and we had some new distributors and manufacturers participating. Older ones were welcomed back in full force of the event, and main stage was packed from morning till night. Due to the success of this show, we are moving back to the South Building in 2018 so that we can better accommodate increased demand and space for the show. Montreal, even in the absence of 2 large distributors in the marketplace, the show committee did an amazing job in making the show look good and even feel better. Attendance was just shy of 5,500 people. In my opinion, they didn't even miss a beat. The classrooms were full, so we provided what the stylists and manufacturers have been asking us to supply: education, education, and more education. The distributors worked with manufacturers to bring great platform artists as Gay Boutique, Even had Jean-Paul de Joria there. Very, very impressive. During the past year, the ABA has faced important challenges and has implemented many new changes. As an association, we need to work together in embracing these changes and take this association to a level of professionalism like never before. Sometimes we are reminded that we have one foot in the past, which we refer to as the old boys club. But I can say that in order to move into the future, sometimes we need a little of that history from those who helped build this industry. And I'd like to say thank you for these presidents that have actually joined us here at the AGM as well. Thank you. As we move into and we start to execute the 5-year plan, the mere show organization that we once were will come to an end. We will be teaming up with outside resources such as the Canadian Training Company, known as the CTC, to help develop and execute the ABA 5-year plan. You will hear more from Michelle Prezet and Eddie Della Mora of CTC in this afternoon's session. I would like to thank my fellow board members for the incredible cross-section of knowledge and expertise that they bring to this association. They are the hardest working team of board members that you can ever ask for. Gordon Greenwood. There are some individuals that are always right. And I have to say, Gordon often demonstrates this. His ability to teach and to mentor others is unmatchable. You are and continue to be the pillar of the BABA. Thank you for all that you do. Your wisdom, vision, advice, and most of all for taking my calls all hours of the day and night, including the weekend, are very much appreciated. I would also like to thank our treasurer, who has been very dedicated to the association, Kevin O'Regan Jr. I must say with Sabrina by your side, not Samantha, our finances are always in good hands. Thank you for everything that you do as well. Stephanie, ABA Show and Events Manager, thank you for your passion, for your love of what you do for the association. Thank you for your support and understanding as we go through this transitional time. Your dedication and hard work does not go unnoticed. We recognize our office team of Liz, Sabrina, and Samantha. They worked very hard during the restructuring of their roles in the ABA office and are working hard to implement these changes as we move forward. Thank you for your dedication to the association. I would like to thank all of you for participating in this AGM. Each and every one of you is a real support for this association. I have to say, throughout my involvement with the ABA over the years, it has always been good to see many familiar faces, but best of all, we're also starting to see many different ones. We have new members wanting to be part of this association every day, which just goes to prove one thing, that we are moving in the right direction. I would ask all of you members to take time to speak with those members who did not attend the ABA events or the AGM and who are here with us today. Maybe for the simple fact that they don't understand the benefits and the importance of our association. We need to be united in order for our association to grow and reach new heights as we journey into the future. There's a real need for an association like ours. We all need to collectively embrace the ABA and also remember to support your association as we collectively continue to gain momentum as we advance the goals and new vision of the ABA. Last year, I also committed to the membership that I would undertake 3 goals for my term as the chairman of the board. Those 3 goals were: 1 was to fully implement office changes to benefit you as members. And I can say that this has been completed. It is a work in progress, but we are moving in the right direction. Number 2 was to actively coordinate completion of the 15 deliverables being undertaken by your 5 advisory councils. They had actually 3 initiatives that they needed to work on. Would have been 15 deliverables. I can confirm that 6 of them have been implemented in the past year as well. So thank you for the advisory council for working so hard. The other one, and last but not least, number 3, to provide your board with an approval and an adoption of the 5-year strategic plan for the ABA. We will actually be working on this plan together this afternoon during the breakout sessions. In closing, I would like to say, remember, we are better together. With your help, all goals will be achieved. Thank you very much for coming. Hope you enjoy the rest of the event. And remember just one thing, we are better united. Thank you. Oh, just a little bit of legal stuff. I guess I was supposed to announce that we do have a quorum. Thank you, Gordon. He's my left arm. Okay, I get to introduce the past presidents. So I know that we did this last night, but just again, I'd like to take a moment to introduce the past presidents who have taken time to be here with us at this event and here with us today. Their colored badges are a little different. They're wearing gold badges, so if you see anybody wearing a gold badge, doesn't mean that they're a gold member. They're just a retired member of the ABA. So, Marshall Folk, actually, ABA president from 1978 to 1979. Is Marshall, you want to stand, please? This is an order of seniority, I guess. Trent Robinson, ABA president from 1993 to 1995. Dorian Delati, ABA president from 2001 to 2003. We'll clap anyway. Scott Fraser, ABA president from 2003 to 2015. Kevin O'Regan Jr., president from 2007 to 2009. Al Peters, ABA president from 2009 to 2011. Stephen Pavlik, ABA president from 2013 to 2015. And I guess myself, although ABA chairman of the board, 2015 to present, one more year of me, and then you don't have to deal with me anymore. Okay, this is the fun part. I'm going to have Stephanie come up actually and do an introduction of some new members and some new guests. You might have heard some of this last night, but we're just going to welcome them as well. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. So on everybody's badges, you notice they're all color-coded. Our first-time attendees and guests have a big star on their badge. So if you notice them today or tonight, please make sure you go out of your way, say hello, introduce yourself. They are new. So if you are here today and I call your name, could you stand up so everybody knows? Our first one, Michelle Presse of the Canadian Training Company. Eddie Delamora, Canadian Training Company. Ralph Bryant with Green Circle Salons. Stephen Hedges with Dermalogica. Nellie Zhang of Nellie's Hair Emporium. And Alvin Zhang, Nellie's Hair Emporium. Tom Markel, Salon Magazine. Jessica Hoach, cosmetologist. Ricky Shim, cosmetologist. And Christine Fraser, special invited guest. She's not here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome to the first-timers, and hope to see your face again going forward as well. But thank you for being here with us this morning. I'm going to call for Liz to come up at this time and actually do the filing of the proxies. And as I said, the quorum, we do have the quorum, but we should have did this probably a little earlier, but we'll have her do the filing of the proxies now. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Before I start, are there any additional proxies that someone brought along with them? No. Okay, perfect. I ask that if your name is called, if you could just raise your hand, because Sam and Sabrina are going to be handing out voting cards, just so that she can find you a lot easier. Dino Cairo for Joe Cairo, MC College. Jack Ingraham will have 4. Sebastian Perron from Concept JP, Sandra Fiore from Fiore and Greco Design, Michael McMahon from Summit Salon Services, and Martine Flaherty from Revlon Professional. Peter Alexander for 2. Christy Coplin. Oh, Sabrina, to the left. Peter Alexander for Vince Reverso. Jessica Hoge. From Martin Trong, Iconic Maine Inc. Okay. For Aldo Jamiti, we have 11. Jerry Titus, ESP Salon Sales. Maria Martins, Joico. Mike Miller, Paideia Quantum. Michael Murphy, Central Beauty. Jerry Grossi, Belvedere. Randy Sellinger, John Paul Mitchell Systems. Sandy Reagan, First Lady Products. David Kaufman, TBBS. Jamie Huddleston from Paideia Canada. And Susan Ketty from Eastern Aesthetics. Stephen Pavlik for 1. From Randy Chang, Kingdom Beauty. John Paul Hitu. Just a minute. For 3, Pierre Hitu, Gay Beauté, Alain Jacquaz, H. Chalou, Yvon Chautron from Novico. Tom Arkel. Sabrina, you only have 1. 4. It's from Laura Dunphy, Salon Communications. Al Peters for 2. Lise Ward from Lee Product Cosbec and Martin Perceau from Cosbec. Stephen Pavlik, sorry. Mike Joma, Modern Beauty. Okay. Vincent Lemieux. Marie-Christine Bourdon, Star Bedard, and Marie-Danielle Bourdon from Fama Canada. And that concludes all the proxies for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. I guess I'm holding the quorum this morning, so it should make things a little faster. At this time, I'm going to call actually our treasurer, Kevin O'Regan, up to give us a treasurer's report.
Thank you, Aldo. Good morning. First, I'd like to acknowledge a longtime treasurer that's in the room, Marshall Folk, and reiterate the promise I made to him earlier this morning to not use the word poop during my address. If you're an older member of the association, you will know what that means. First, the financial statements, everybody should have those in the kits. I'd like to say a special thank you to our controller, Sabrina Singh. We have probably the best order of finances that the association has ever had since Sabrina has joined us. So thank you, Sabrina, to your attention to detail for our financial plan. We do have a clean set of financial statements. The audit committee met with BDO in March, and there are no financial concerns for the association. I'll take a quick top tour through these financial statements, given that they're much more interesting than the legal report. And I just like to top line the significant items within the statements. So if you follow me through to page 3, you'll see under cash equivalent, short-term investments. In 2016, that totals $1 million. It's up from $790,000 the previous year. You'll also see an increase in the prepaid show costs to $332,000, and that's due to the timing of the spring shows. So those are costs that we've paid in advance. Under our liabilities, the item deferred revenue, an increase of to $203,000 from $90,000 in the previous. This is improved commitments to our spring shows. So deferred revenue are prepaid, and primarily it's booth expenses. So that shows up as a earlier commitment of members to our spring shows. And then finally, under the reserve fund, you'll see the increase of $780,000 to $900,000. That was, and you'll see where that happens in a moment, but that's to place funds within our reserve, which is a fund the association maintains to deal with problematic financial events that we've experienced in the past. If I can take you to page 4. You'll see our operations of shows under the top revenue item, $1.8 million to $20,000, as an increase of $172,000. So we had an increase in our revenue from our shows in 2016. You'll also notice a decline of approximately $50,000 in membership dues. And again, this is due to the change of structure of membership. We didn't know that was going to happen, so that's where the decline happens there. You'll see under our expenses, while our operations as show produced $172,000 increase, the cost of that increase was only $37,000. So we saw we saw a great movement there. And then the combination that we'll go through in Schedule 3 of industry-related costs, our overhead administration, is a decline of $50,000. So all in all, that produces, as an NPO, we don't use that dirty word profit that those of us in private business like, that actually produced an excess of funds of $126,437, which is a beautiful change from the deficiency of the year before. So great financial results with a caution. We knew 2016 was going to be a challenging year. The shows came in a little better than we expected, and there have been an awful lot of belt tightening done in 2016. So while the excess is wonderful to show, please be aware that it's a trend that we're dealing with, and it's a direct result of a lot of trimming of costs throughout the association. If you come to page 5, Statement of net assets, this is where you see the movement, the $120,000 from the unrestricted fund transferred into the reserve fund, bringing that back up to $900,000. That's a fund that requires board approval for expensive funds. So that's our safety net. Page 6 just shows our statement of cash flows. It's exciting. And again, I'd like to bring you forward to page number 9, our capital assets. The big thing is that's under there is the building, the cost, and with the accumulated amortization. The building we believe to have a value, that the building that we completely solely own, a value of in excess of $1 million. So it really positions our association that's in some great shape. We take the next page over to page 10. Under credit facility, this is where solid financial management comes in place, because there has been no use of our line of credit in quite some time now. So that's where we're seeing very prudent financial management in the office taking place in the results. Number 7, under commitments, really, as we're going through, as Alda talks, significant change, you'll notice that our commitments in 2018 beyond are very minimal. If you looked at past statements to 10 years ago, you would see a significant amount of future commitments to shows, venues, AGMs. We know we're working in very different times, so we are timing our future commitments to give us flexibility. Finally, Schedule 1, page 11. Okay, this is how we're spending our money. So you'll see that we had a reduction of approximately $17,000 under cosmetology. That was the activity that we were doing to bring new members in, so we changed that in 2016. You'll see under overhead, computer services. This is work work material that we've brought internal in the office, so there's an increase in that expense. Under administration, the bank charges continue to rise for, again, those of us knowing business. That's the cost of doing business on credit card. It helps reduce accounts receivable, but it does come at a cost. Our consulting fees are down approximately $11,000. That was the use of Scott Moon in the previous years for consulting work that we had him doing. The forward exchange swing, I wish we had some control over that, but nothing can be done. We come down under office salary, subcontractor fees, a decline of $55,000. That's due to changes in the office staff and the staffing structure internal from the GM position that we had. Under professional fees, an $8,000 reduction is primarily money we didn't give Gordon, and all net producing a decline in expenses of approximately $36,000. Finally, the back page schedule is page 12, is our operations of shows. And again, I just want to top line some of the pieces that we have on here. Our ticket sales, and this is where the result came in that I shared earlier. Our ticket sales had an increase of $54,000 from the previous year. Our booth rentals had an increase of approximately $95,000 from the previous year. In terms of control, booth and display construction was reduced by about $18,000. So really good management by Stephanie in our show costings. And then the one that's significant here is the convention rental space, which is just due to the rental fees that we really don't have any control on. Under 2016. You'll see a loss in the Vancouver show. That was a deposit that we lost in that show, that commitment that we had made and paid out. So that show showed a negative piece, which was actually the deposit that was spent. And then top bottom line in Montreal in 2016 produced a $55,000 increase over the previous year. Toronto 2015 to 2016 showed us a $100,000 increase in year to year. Overall producing a final piece, a final result of a $140,000 increase in our operations of shows. So that's our financial statements. I'd like to ask somebody to make a motion to accept them. By Al Peters, seconded by Anthony. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Contrary-minded? It's accepted. Thank you. Item number 8 is appointment of auditors, and BDO have been our auditors for the association for several years. They do a wonderful job, so I would like to ask somebody to make a motion to appoint BDO as the auditors for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. Motion by Anthony, seconded by, Angela? Seconded by Angela, I'm sorry. Any discussion? All in favor? And contrary-minded? It's carried. The final piece is that will be leaving the meeting, unfortunately, early today. I have to attend my son's graduation event in Newfoundland tonight, so I will be handing my proxy to Aldo when I leave the meeting. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. At this point, I'm going to ask for a motion on the floor to accept the minutes of the 2016 AGM as circulated by email mid-May. Brian, second by Edward. Any discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Number 10, ABA shows and events update. We're going to have Stephanie come up and give us an update on the Toronto-Montreal show, and also maybe share some of the BeautyEx that's happening with us in October as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Aldo. I'd like to start with showing a little recap video of our Calgary 216, Montreal and Toronto 217 shows. our last 3 shows. The Calgary ABA show took place October 2nd and 3rd, 2016 at the Calgary Stampede BMO Halls. The Alberta Show Committee was really looking for something a little different for that show. So for the first time in Canada, we were able to get the Butterfly Circus to perform on our main stage. It was the first of its kind across Canada. We've still not been able to get them back, so Calgary was the only ones to get them in the fall of 2016. We had Hair God Zito, Lala's Updos, Alexis Thurston, and Canadian Michael Levine put on main stage presentations on our main stage with a huge social media presence, and they really drew a huge crowd. It really got that show going. So that was really a first of its kind in Calgary. A huge thank you to those who supported that Calgary show, because from that show, quite a few things changed out in Alberta. So I would really like to say thank you to ESP Salon Sales, International Beauty Salon Services, Modern Beauty Supplies, Summit Salon Services, and True Beauty Salon Services for supporting the show and really sticking together out that way for that last Calgary show. As we know, there will be quite a few changes in Alberta going forward, and that was our last one in that market. All of the manufacturers who took part really banded together, and Redken, Sexy Hair, Farouk, just to name a few, really put on a great show. So overall, a big thank you. We would like to thank Modern Beauty Supplies for selling the highest amount of tickets at the Calgary ABA show, and we will accept that plaque on their behalf as they're unable to be with us today. The next show that we did was the Montreal ABA show, March 12th and 13th at the Palais de Congrès in Montreal. The show committee decided on a few key changes for 2017. The first change was to bring in a big main stage headliner. So we engaged the Tony and Guy USA team to come and put on main stage presentations. They really focused on precision cutting and did 2 main stage segments, one on Sunday and one on Monday. And as you saw from the video, they really had a packed house. The main stage was also home to our ABA competitions. We ran 5 live competitions, and we ended both show days with our Battles of the Barber. A big thank you to Wall Canada for sponsoring our battles. They have continued to be our most popular competition. We also decided to run some hands-on educational classes on the Monday of the show to try to drive traffic back to show day 2. It was really quite successful in the Montreal market. We ran classes from braiding to updos, cut, color, barbering. All of them drew a really wide range of stylists, and all were quite full. It's certainly something that we will do again, and all the attendees really got some practical, hands-on experience from some of Canada's top educators. From an exhibiting standpoint, we welcomed such exhibitors as Chalut, Amico, Gay Beauté, Concept JP, Capilex, Novico, just to name a few, and participating manufacturers Redken, Farouk, Revlon, Danico, Paul Mitchell, Wella, Cadis, Joico, Amica, just to name a few. Overall, the show floor may have been a little bit smaller in Montreal for 2017, but every single educational area on that floor was really busy. You could not get a seat at the main stage, and any educational theater really had a crowd both show days. So with the help of all participating distributors in Quebec, the Montreal ABA show saw attendance of more than 5,500 people over both days. A big thank you to Chalut for selling the highest amount of tickets to the Montreal ABA show for 2017, and we will accept the plaque on their behalf, as Alain is not able to be with us today, and we will send that off to him. So the last show of our spring season this year was the Toronto ABA show, which was held March 26th and 27th at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, North Building once again. For the first time in so many years, we welcome back Toronto Barber and Beauty Supply, as well as Venus Beauty Supply, BSG Cosmoprof, Alternative Beauty Services, Modern Beauty Supplies, and Perlon Product, just to name a few of our big distributors. We really had a united show for the Toronto ABA show this year, and it really, you could tell right out of the gate. Our show floor was beyond full, and we actually sold out early on into the spring months. You could not buy a 10 by 10 if you begged me for it, and that's the first time that's happened in 10 years. So it was really great news for Toronto. Fun and excitement were really the mandate of that show, and we brought a bunch of new initiatives into it. We had a selfie bus, an ABA certificate booth, which you saw on the video there. We once again did the ABA Beauty Boutique, where we had manufacturers donate product samples, and for a donation, which we donated to Look Good, Feel Better, attendees got a little bag filled with product samples. We had more than 19 manufacturers take part in that initiative this year. And we also introduced our first ever careers in beauty section right at the top of the escalators of the Toronto show. We sold little pre-done booths to either salons, schools, or educational class concepts to promote themselves. We weren't sure how this was going to go, and this was an initiative right out of one of the advisory councils, and I could tell you that it was packed both show days. Right at the top of the escalators, typically people walk right by, and they stayed and mingled with the people. All of the schools and salons did very, very well. It is something you will see at all of our BeautyExes going forward and all of our other ABA shows. So that was something that one of the advisory councils had really put forth and worked out really, really nicely. Lineup started really early for all of the booths and educational areas in Toronto, and we really had a packed show. We built a huge X stage right in the center of the show floor again this year, and we made it even a little bigger so that we didn't have as many bottlenecks around the booths, which was feedback that we got from you guys last year. We engaged Confessions of a Hairstylist and Cassandra Platinum, both big social media stars, to do main stage segments for us. Confessions of a Hairstylist also conducted a private look and learn and a book signing, as she has hairstyling books. She drew quite the crowd, and she unveiled her wondrous collection for the first time of the spring. She's doing it at the premiere show tomorrow, so we were really lucky to have her in Toronto first. Our main stage was also home to our competitions. We held our 3rd annual Battle of the Barber, as well as 6 other live competitions. And as you saw in the little video, we introduced fantasy makeup for the first time, which was really well received. A big thank you to all of our competition sponsors: Toronto Barber and Beauty Supply, Wall Canada, Great Clips, Oster, and Gibbs for sponsoring various competitions. We also ran tons of educational classes off the show floor, so Toronto really had something for everybody. We had for the salon owners classes on leadership and team building, business developments, to timelines and bottom lines. Sandra Fiore taught a class. We brought in John Gonzalez out of the US. We actually had Martin Parsons himself teaching his updo classes to people who wanted to sign up directly with him. I mean, there was something for everybody at this show. So a big thank you to everybody who participated in Toronto. We are moving back to the south side for 218 as we have outgrown the north side once again. With everybody's help and support on this show, we saw more than 8,000 people over both show days. At this time, I would like to ask BSG Canada, Cosmoprof, to come up and accept your plaque for highest ticket sales. So that tops off our spring ABA show season. I'm just going to speak really quickly about our new initiative that we have going for the fall. So with all of the changes in the Alberta market, instead of doing a traditional Calgary ABA show in October, the Alberta group, as well as the Show and Events Committee, have put their thoughts together and thought, what else can we do other than a traditional show when we know in Alberta it was just getting a little too expensive and attendance was sort of wavering a little bit. So we have introduced a brand new educational concept called BeautyEx. This is a small 2-day event with hands-on education and pure demonstration space, which will be held in Edmonton October 1st and 2nd. At Northlands. But when I say it's small and intimate, I really mean it's small and intimate. It's one hall. It's very personalized. We're expecting a big number of people, but we we really want to stress that it is not a show. In the sense of what you know ABA shows to be. Manufacturers will all be taking the same amount of space, and that will be 10 by 20, and no more than that. And really, the name of the game is not to cash and carry, it's really to demo and showcase your newest and best products up close and personal. We're going to build a very small center main stage platform where we're going to showcase and rotate manufacturers' talent that they're bringing in. And then those manufacturers who are interested are able to book private rooms where they will teach hands-on classes to VIP ticket holders. So far, participation on this has been great, and I can really thank everybody for getting behind this. We are hoping to roll out 4 more BeautyExes across Canada in 2018. So look for those. We're looking to do one in Halifax, one in Winnipeg, one in Ottawa, and then hopefully one in Vancouver. And you will see in Alberta, we are going to be going from a double show a year. We used to do traditional ABA shows in Edmonton and Calgary every single year in May and October. We're now going to alternate the pattern. So Calgary will see a show, Edmonton will see a BeautyEx, and in the next year it'll flip around. So we will still engage the Alberta market with 2 ABA events and shows. It's just not going to ask that everybody gets behind us, supports us. You have made my job very easy so far today, with building beautiful booths and really supporting the ABA. And we really ask that you continue to support with us. When we all get together as one, as we saw in Toronto and Montreal and Calgary, the shows are fantastic and people love them. So let's continue to bring them what they love. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, and again, thank you for what you do for the association. And as she says, we're really trying to make a difference in our shows and our events going forward, because we know that times are changing, so our traditional shows don't always work. So stay tuned for more of that to come as well. I'm going to ask Liz to come up at this time, actually, for the presentation and ratification of the new board members and advisory councils.
Thank you, Aldo. I will start off with the ABA Board of Directors. Chairman, Aldo Jamiti, Wall Professional. As of yesterday, our new Vice Chair, Tiffany Pitamata, Revlon Professional. From our manufacturers, Jack Ingraham, Redken Canada. Susan Ketty, Eastern Aesthetics. Tiffany Pitamata, Revlon Professional. Distributors, Brian Aarons, Collega Aveda. Vince Reverso, Venus Beauty Supplies. Edward Slattery, Capulex Beauté. From the Associate Division, Sandra Fiore, Fiorio and Greco Design. From our Salon and School Owner category, Joe Caro, MC College. From our Cosmetologist category, Kelly Kalmbach, Beauty Bound Solutions. Our Treasurer, Kevin O'Regan, O'Regan Agencies. And our Legal Advisor, Gordon Greenwood, McLaren Corlett. I will now go over our advisory councils. The Professional Manufacturers Advisory Council members are Susan Ketty, Eastern Aesthetics, Berardino Alberico, Wands International, Melissa Daniels, Dermalogica, Jack Ingraham, Redken Canada, Tiffany Pitamata, Revlon Professional, Mike Riley, Scruples Inc., Andrea Sampson, Danico Professional, Mario Theroe, Cody Inc. From our Professional Distributors Advisory Council members, Edward Slattery, Capulex Beauté, Brian Aarons, Collega Aveda, Peter Alexander, Maritime Beauty, David Kaufman, Toronto Barber and Beauty Supply, Graham Kenny, International Beauty Services, Vince Reverso, Venus Beauty Supplies, Bruno Rochette, Amico, Paul Williams, Williams Beauty Supply. From our Professional Associate Advisory Council members, Sandra Fiore, Fioro and Greco Design, Scott Moon, Green Circle Salons, Ernie Pozobon, Salons by JC, Mark Chambry, Salonware Software. Our Professional Owners Advisory Council members, Joe Caro, MC College, Rocco Compranero, Access Salon and Spa, Alex Fortino, Salon Alessandro, Suzanne Martin, 3 Small Rooms, Kim Schlatter, Great Clips, Starlit Tolver, The House of Miss Rose. Professional Cosmetologist Advisory Council members are Kelly Kalmbach, Beauty Bound, Megan Gustafon, Main Street Hair. Morella Rhoda, Salon Gaboa International. Lena Shamoon, Artline Salon. Rianne Thackeray, Vivid Salon Spa Wellness. And Anthony Zakaria, Essence of Nature. I would like to request a motion to accept and ratify the 2017-2018 Board of Directors and Advisory Councils. Peter Alexander and Kevin Rennie. Thank you very much. Oh, sorry. Any discussion? No? Carried? No? Thank you.
Thank you, Liz, and again, welcome to the advisory council members and the board members as well. We're looking forward to working with you over the next 12 months. At this point, we are under number 12. I'm going to actually ask for someone to make a motion to adjourn the annual general meeting for the purpose of holding a special general meeting. Edward, second by Kelly. Any in favor? Discussion, sorry? In favor? Opposed? Thank you. At this point, I'm going to actually ask for a motion to convene the special general meeting. Edward, second by Al. Any discussion? In favor? Opposed? Passed. I'm going to call Gordon actually up at this point to share some bylaw updates with us. Thank you.
This is the part of the meeting which gets really exciting. For those of you who are eminently familiar with the laws relating to not-for-profit associations, there are certain bylaw changes the directors can make on their own, and some have to come to the annual general meeting, and a special general meeting be convened for that purpose, which is what this is. So what I would ask you to do is about every 15 seconds or so, just nudge the person beside you just to make sure they're still with us, because we will be calling a vote. So the topic for discussion is amending the definition of membership, which is currently salon, spa, school owner, or manager. Now, irrespective of the fact that it was written in precise legal language, I gather some people still misinterpreted and weren't sure whether that applied to the business or the individuals. And there were certain people who wanted to become members that weren't sure whether to apply on behalf of their salon or apply as a cosmetologist. Of course, my response to them was both. The membership fees are good, both of them. But anyway, so the purpose of this bylaw amendment is to make it more precise that this category is meant to be the business of. And also, there was some question about barbershops. We wanted to make sure that barbers were welcome. Now, barbers, of course, are included in the definition of a cosmetologist, but the barbershop itself raised a question as well. And there was some clarification required around the chains. So, for those of you who were around a long time ago when franchises became popular, the ABA had a special bylaw dealing with franchises, and they joined as a franchise, but all of the various units together could not account for any more than 15% of the vote. So that's what we've carried forward into these definitions. So what we're looking for is and by the way, there was a notice of special general meeting sent out to everyone, and I'm sure you've all read it. So a motion to amend the definition of salon, spa, school owner, and manager to read salon, barbershop, spa, school. So to clarify that it's not the individuals that are being referred to, it's the operation of the facility, whether it be as a sole proprietorship, as a partnership, as an incorporation, as a franchise, whatever. So bring them in. And so it is means subject to the following: any person who owns a licensed facility in Canada where professional cosmetologists perform personal services in a professional salon, barbershop, or spa setting for remuneration, and any accredited school or academy where cosmetology education is provided. And I'll stop there. By license, let's make it clear that we're not talking about a provincially, like the College of Trades. We're talking about you hold a business license, right? So within your various provinces, that you're a legitimate establishment for carrying on the business. And provided that it does not include any owner, which is a government or crown corporation, and that's in there specifically relating to educational institutions and schools. So where there are 2 or more professional salons, barbershops, or spas opened by a single entity, or where the owners are subsidiaries, affiliates, or associated entities to one another, and that's what we refer to as chain salons, chain barbershops, chain spas, as the circumstances may require, each professional salon, barbershop, or spa operating from an independent address shall be permitted to apply for its own membership in the association. This is where you nudge the person next to you. The purpose of that is that whatever that entity is can either join as a chain or can join as a chain, and each individual location can also join, remembering that cumulatively they can never exercise any more than 15% of the votes of that within that category. And we indicate subject to any restrictions on voting, which I just described to you, as may be contained in the bylaws from time to time. Where professional salons, barbershops, spas, or schools are owned or operated under a franchise arrangement, the franchisor and each of the franchisees shall be permitted to apply for its own membership in the association, again, subject to the restrictions on voting. And then throughout the bylaws, where the term salon, spa, school owner, or manager occurs, we're doing what's called an omnibus provision, so that reference will be changed to the new definition of salon, barbershop, /spa, /school, and then we set out where that occurs in the bylaws. Bylaw number 1, bylaw number 2, etc. So, for those of you who are still with me, may I have a motion to adopt this bylaw amendment? Al? Seconded by, let's have someone new, Peter? Okay, starlet discussion.
Yes, when you use the term accredited for school,
Right.
then you're not addressing private career colleges. Accredited in each jurisdiction has a specific definition, and that means that they're compliant with requirements of the governing body of the school. So that term there, when you say accredited, needs to specifically be defined.
Okay. So that is a term which is currently being used and has been used in relation to the cosmetology or cosmetologist membership as well. Thank you for the microphone. So maybe you could actually take the mic and kind of explain to us, because you have to remember, those of us who were sitting in the office or sitting behind a desk in Ottawa aren't familiar with your profession and may need some explanation. So.
Okay. Do you want me to explain where this comes from?
Well, what the distinction is between the term we've used and what you think it should be.
Okay. When we're looking at the point here that says any accredited school or academy where cosmetology education is provided, and when we say accredited, an accredited school means that the school has applied to the province to go through a set of standards, and they have completed that auditing process, and they are now able to apply for student loan. Their students can apply for student loan funding, and they report to the government, and they follow a specific criteria. There are schools that choose not to go through that process. So they still take students, they teach cosmetology, they use other sources of funding for their students. So if we use the term accredited here, the schools themselves, if they're only designated and not accredited, they will not think that they're able to become a member.
And I actually think that might have been the intention when it was done, because at the time that was brought in, Starlet, we were dealing with something which, it's a term maybe unique to Quebec, but they call them popcorn schools. And that's schools that just pop up, and then we'll try and get money from the students and then disappear before the education is complete, and drove down the reputation of schools. So if there's a way we can protect that interest and yet cover what you're talking about, is there language
So
or
all you
something?
would have to add is designated, that they've gone through the government process of audit, but they've chosen not to use the government funding
But
model.
it is still,
It's still
Okay.
audited.
so,
Gordon, is it on? Okay. Actually, I believe the term is registered. So there really is no term accredited. If you look at the advertising guidelines, when you're a career college, you are not allowed to use the term accredited because there is
Ontario.
no accreditation. It's registration. So you're either registered or non-registered. And then the term that you're talking about, Starlet, is whether you're OSAP eligible or not, which is a whole other, I don't think it's relevant whether you're OSAP or not. I think it's most relevant if you're registered, meaning you're a credible
Yeah, that's
school.
for Ontario. Yeah.
Right. I think any funding, whether provincial or BC funding as well, but from a school perspective, you are a registered private career college. That's the term.
Each province has its own language.
and we're
Isn't it
trying to
awesome?
cover them all.
I know.
And you guys don't realize how unique and exciting it is for
Oh,
me to
yes.
actually be part of a discussion. People actually paying attention to what I say.
So it may need just a little investigating.
Does it need investigating, or, now, is accredited a term that's used in Alberta?
No. It's registered.
I'll look to Dino for that.
Do you know?
We do, but it is, every province is different.
Okay, so one of the beauties about a motion is it can be, that's a motion, not emotion, is that it can be amended. And if I put together the thoughts here, then what we're looking at is changing or adding accredited, registered, or designated institutions. Well, you've done both. Is that a yes or a no?
Yes, but would a word registered mean something different in Alberta, though, if you do that for all across Canada?
I've never heard the word registered schools.
So is it worth putting like registered, and then you put in the provinces that it applies to, and then accredited to provinces that it applies to, just so you don't create a loophole?
First time anyone's wanted to expand the language that I use.
I'm just asking, because I work.
Is it, should we be adding the word government or provincially to this? Or would that complicate matters?
Would probably cover it.
So provincially,
Yeah. Recognize.
we have a, okay, all right, sorry, we're trying to get some, so what's being said over here is provincially recognized. If someone's going to talk, could they come to the mic, or we can move the mic to you? And then Scott?
I don't normally talk too much. But if
I
it's
do.
registered in Ontario, does that mean that the government has some control over it? So it's not regulated by the government, just registered. So. It is regulated? Okay, all right, sorry, I don't know too much about it, so that's why I'm asking. Okay,
Because that's,
Yeah.
when we're talking about the definition of license, it's trying to get that credibility to be a member of the ABA. Okay.
Could you not just leave it as accredited and then provide a definition of what accredited means?
Yes.
For each one?
For each one?
For each province or whatever and somewhere else?
Yes, but
Yeah. Because
but we are-
you're using accredited as an actual legal term rather than what we all know it means. Like we're looking for something that's accredited or believable as a school. Legitimate, I think, is more the word I'm looking for.
yeah, well, that would need
Yeah.
definition.
Yeah.
Gordon, just because it's hard to get, can I suggest that you amend the motion? I don't know if you can get the wording right here today. You could still have the motion accepted under investigation of terminology for the change.
We could do that, and I'm kind of table that for the moment.
If I could throw
Eddie?
2 cents in there, perhaps compliant with provincial regulations, because whether it's licensing or not licensed or accredited, it's under some provincial regulation, so it would be compliant with that provincial regulation, and I think that would, just a thought.
Okay, so you have 3 options. One is to refer it back to, probably come through the board, but it strikes me that this new category is probably the one to be coming up with its own definition for what that might be, as proposed by Scott. Or we just pass the motion as it is and then pass a definition later on. Or we just add provincial, and it would be provincially regulated? Recognized. Provincially recognized? Provincially compliant. So those are the 3 options. So, because this is a legitimate meeting, we have a motion on the floor, so someone would have to propose an amendment to that motion in this.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Gordon,
yeah.
one more addition. The word compliance allows for the association to withdraw a membership if a school becomes non-compliant. So just, that is the terminology that I know is used by most of the provincial regulators, and it allows them to penalize a school if they're non-compliant, but also would allow the association to withdraw their membership. So just, I wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, so it is now up to those of you who are advocating a certain position, whether you want to propose an amendment or whether you're satisfied with what you've heard from someone else. So we'll start with the provincially compliant. Is there anyone who would like to move an amendment to the motion to change accredited to provincially compliant?
Before that, Gordon, that doesn't solve the problem of the popcorn businesses, because if they get a business license from the province of Quebec, they're going to pop up and disappear and pop up, disappear. So they would be legitimate under that motion, would they not?
That's a different issue. Well, because there's no, if you're provincially compliant in Quebec, there's no rules that you're compliant.
Although you may not like that, it is legitimate, right? So if it's legitimate and operating in the province, it's in compliance.
And I guess that's really no different from your definition of cosmetologist. Right?
Honestly, I don't think it's a problem, because at least we'll have new members, but if they're professional, they'll want to be a member, and they'll probably be professional, but they won't subscribe if they're not professional.
Yeah. And then they can be defrocked when they... Do you know, is that a look of exasperation, or you just have one too many last night? Now, so are we in a quagmire, and do we take Scott's approach and table it for further discussion, or do you proceed with...
I'd love to have it say provincial.
Okay, so Starlet moves an amendment to the motion that accredited be changed to provincially compliant. Is there a seconder for that motion? Do you know? Discussion? Okay, presumably you don't mean the whole thing that I read before. Okay. Okay. Any person who owns a provincially compliant facility in Canada where cosmetologists perform personal services. Sorry, that one was licensed. Okay, and any provincially compliant school or academy where cosmetology education is provided. So there is a motion on the floor for that. Any discussion? Is there, before we take that vote, is there a motion in favor of any of the other two alternatives?
Motion to leave it as is and to provide a definition for accredited that allows us to do it at a later time. Also, I just want to add for the popcorn problem that you mentioned, you could add to the definition of accredited that they have to be in business for a certain, let's say 2 years or something like that. We used to have that in the ACA before.
Yeah.
I can take care of that.
Yeah, we did have a duration, and that still exists for some of the other definitions, where they have to be in business for a certain length of time. So I'm sorry, your name? Okay.
You know, if it ends up on our table as the board of directors, then we're going to have to probably fly all into Toronto and do another meeting. And, you know, I find it's for a word. I don't understand why we're juggling this.
Okay, well, I'm actually going to stop you because there's not a seconder for the motion yet. Is there a seconder for Bernardino's motion? Yeah. So, if there's a seconder for the motion, we now have two motions. So Angela has seconded that one. Any discussion on that one? All right. So, Liz and Stephanie, we're going to call two votes here. So the first vote is going to be, and only people with voting cards, please, and you can vote your proxies as well, for changing the word accredited to provincially compliant. All in favor?
Al, how many do you have? 3? 2? 3?
Yeah.
1 for Joan. How many? 6. Thank you.
Okay. All right, put the vote cards down, please. And all in favor of leaving the definition as is, but coming up with a definition of accredited? All in favor? Okay. The first motion is carried. So we now, believe it or not, vote on the amended motion. And so the motion as amended. So, Al and Peter, do you accept the amendment to your motion? Yes? You still remain a seconder of the motion as amended? So, all in favor? Okay. Contrary-minded? That is carried. Boy, all that excitement at my age. So, as I have been asked to chair this portion, could I ask for a motion to adjourn the special general meeting and reconvene the annual general meeting? Anthony, seconder? Edward, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. So is it me again? Okay, so we are now at item number 16, which is the legal advisor's report. So here we are. Given where we are, believe me, I have never seen so many members at a meeting. I don't want this panned. You have to trust me, given whose hotel we're in, that these are more people who've ever attended an AGM than ever had in their entire life. It may not be my inauguration, but it's a similar sort of principle. And please don't pan the audience. So, from what you've heard, you hear a lot so far about the shows and the innovation and that sort of thing. So what I'm going to be talking to you about is what you don't necessarily see unless you're in trouble. Or you may see it happen and it kind of evolve. So you have a PRC, which is not the People's Republic of China, it's your Professional Regulatory Council. And that group works behind the scenes. It's chaired by Al Peters at the back, and Peter Alexander is on it, and Kent Jones and Susan Ketty. And their job is to try and monitor what is going on at Health Canada and Environment Canada that affects your industry. Now, Aldo had mentioned to you earlier how closely we work with Cosmetics Alliance Canada, and they have the expertise and they have the resources which they graciously share with us and include us in their projects and in their discussions. So for those of you who don't know who this organization is, where you are Wella, they are Coty. Where you are Joico, they would be Shiseido. So they're the organization of parent companies, and they're the ones who have all the regulators, but there are certain things that happen that affect you guys in particular. Now, Health Canada recently announced a self-care product consultations, and that is designed to look at 3 types of products as you currently know it: over-the-counter drugs, natural health products, and cosmetics. They have divided these, instead of under those traditional names, into lower risk, medium risk, and higher risk. So Health Canada is looking to take the regulations that govern your industry and move it into a risk-based analysis. So the beauty of this, no pun intended, from your perspective, is that if, for example, you have a product with an SPF, you don't have to worry about spending $150,000 to get that certified as a drug. You might be able to just file a notification form and have it come in for less than $1,000. So for those of you who have hair loss products, for example, and that's a specific question that I asked when we met at Lac Limi, hair loss will now be moved into their intention is to move it into the lower risk category as well. So what is the risk to consumer will hopefully determine how it has to be regulated. So instead of regulating a lipstick with an SPF in it at the same level as a prescription drug, it'll now be regulated much more simply and easily, which should hopefully, A, make it easier for you to get your products in across the borders, and B, make it cheaper for you and your clients in the long run if manufacturers bring the costs down. So the next round of consultations these consultations were open to industry associations, the public, the medical facility, and they have all been coming together. We had several. Peter attended a session in Halifax. Al attended one in Lac Limi with me. I've attended another one in Toronto was the next one there. The next round of these consultations is actually coming up, starting on June 9th, and will be going on for the balance of June. So I've already registered. I think Al's going to be registering. I don't know, Peter will be. So we're keeping an eye on this stuff. From your From your perspective, what you may see is a label change, perhaps, with a transitory provision. We're fighting against the requirement that you have to have a specific identifier number on it, because right now you have post-market notification. You bring in a you bring in a cosmetic. Within 10 days of its first sale in Canada, you file a cosmetic notification form. That may, we speculate, that may change, that you have to notify the government you're bringing it in before you bring it in. But what we don't want is any additional label burden where you have to either identify the product or identify it with a specific number that will help in a recall. Because any of you who are manufacturers or distributors know that in the event that you do get a stop sale or a recall, you look at your lot and batch number. You know, that's how you track it. You don't have this magic number they put on things. But anyway, so that's one thing we are very active on, we're on top of, and we are working together with the other associations to try and make your lives simpler and cheaper. Now, I may sound like a broken record to some of you before, but under the existing procedures where you file a cosmetic notification form within 10 days of first sale in Canada, I would ask manufacturers that when you're selling to someone who's importing your product into Canada, and I would ask you as importers and distributors to see if you can find some way to put on your customs invoices what your cosmetic notification number is. It's going to make your clearance at the port so much easier, because if they don't have that cosmetic notification form, your shipments get stopped, they take the time to look at it, review the whole thing, and you may have some products in there that may be really on the borderline or whatever, and you end up with your whole shipment being seized. And I'm talking from experience here. So I realize it may sound like a little academic exercise, but it'll benefit you in the long run. We've also worked, many of you have had issues with MIMCI, and I won't pronounce the chemical name for you, even if I could, but it is a preservative in your leave-on and rinse-off products. Health Canada added that to the hot list unannounced and caused grief to a lot of companies in the ABA. What we told ABA members who contacted us about it was it's a concentration-based restriction, and we don't think that Health Canada's testing methods were current. That it was challenged by some CAC members and ABA members, and it turns out the government was in fact wrong. So a number of products that were restricted in their sales were able to sell the product. But what Health Canada learned from that is the anguish they suffered and the anger from industry by making a hot list change without having any consultation with industry. So they have now proposed, in the last meeting that Al and I were at, a schedule. It's not binding on them, but a proposed schedule. So every time they're going to make a hot list change, they will give a notification, they'll have a consultation period, and then they'll have implementation. So give you a chance to do the type of challenges that we talked about before, and we've had that issue with other products in the past. Now let's talk about fake news. And by fake news, I mean real fake news. And that's the stuff that we keep hearing about with lead in lipstick and 1,4-dioxane and that sort of thing. The professional beauty industry wants to keep its professionals alive. It doesn't want to use chemicals that kills them off. You don't want to be killing off your customer base. But science evolves and testing evolves. And there's something called the Chemicals Management Plan, which Al and I follow, and occasionally you'll see notices being sent out from the ABA office. And they're analyzing all of the chemicals and all of the cosmetic products to see whether there are any risk to human health or environmental health. And if they are, then you may end up with restrictions, and you may find some things on the hot list. But also, where the risk is, again, a concentration-based risk, if it's over a certain amount or whatever the case may be, or if it's related to the skill of application, we've been successful in having the hot list carry certain professional exemptions. So it can't be used by a consumer, but by a trained professional, it can continue to be used. So one of the problems we have now, and it's going to be one that you'll be hearing about, is a number of environmental groups have actually published a comic book. And it's a comic book that's targeted at Health Canada, the Ministry of Health, and the Minister of the Environment to try and make them look foolish about not properly regulating phthalates and other ingredients in cosmetics. So remember, if there is a risk, ABA's position is and shall always be in support of any action which protects human health and protects the health of the environment. But we don't want that based on fake news. We don't want that based on junk science. And those are the things that we try and oversee for you, because we are very concerned about your health. We're very concerned about the environment. We're also very concerned about your commercial health, and the problems you have to face are real. So, we are going, you'll hear this afternoon, we're trying to make the ABA great again. And my tweet this morning said, make ABA great again, and that was I did the typo on purpose, and it was just to generate discussion. The afternoon breakout sessions are going to be very important. You're going to be hearing about initiatives, but also Stephanie and I will be doing a session that is going to hopefully cause you to be introspective. And we're going to be presenting you a scenario, and we're going to have you discuss it, and then we're going to drop certain additional items on the plate for you to consider as well. But we're going to try and break you up into what we call supply and demand. So the manufacturers and distributors, suppliers, salon owners, schools, and cosmetologists are demand. So that the ABA now represents the whole industry, and that's what we're trying to do, is to get you to be, we wish there were more people here, but this is a start of what Aldo was talking about, the 5-year plan, looking at what you are, what you represent, how you can better represent yourselves and one another. And I'll stop there because we want to break up. Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon, for the words of wisdom, as usual. We're going to continue on to number 17, actually, confirmation of the acts, and I'm going to call on Brian Ahrens, actually, to present, please.
Be it resolved that all acts, contracts, bylaws, proceedings, elections, and payments enacted, made, done, and taken by the directors and officers of the association since the last meeting of the active members be and the same are hereby approved, ratified, and confirmed.
Second by Al. Discussion? In favor? Opposed? Thank you. Passed. It should have been in your. Was it not in your kits? Sorry about that, Al. We're almost done, so you're not going to need it. A little late, Mr. President. So we're on number 18, Al, just so that you know. It's near the bottom of the list. And we're not going to start over either. So at this time, actually, we're going to do 18L, industry initiatives. I'm going to have actually Liz Boudagine come up on behalf of Sandra to present. She couldn't be with us here today. So, Liz.
Thank you. It is my pleasure to present the following call to action on behalf of Sandra Fiore, who is the lead, and all the active members of the Professional Associate Advisory Council, the following. Today, we come together as the most recognizable beauty association in Canada. Over the past year, since the last AGM, the Associates Advisory Council has been working to identify projects that might be enhanced with the association's involvement. Can this association be of any further value to those ideas? Today, in the open forum of the AGM, we are inviting members who would like to bring forth items that I've been working on or have insight regarding any industry issues that would benefit from the ABA's support in moving those ideas forward. Before I open the floor, I just wanted to share an initiative that the Professional Cosmetologist Advisory Council have been working on. In our efforts to continually add benefits for ABA members, we have partnered with Sound Insurance to offer all members a discount on a robust insurance package, which includes professional liability coverage, employee and employer liability benefits, as well as individual insurance coverage. We are looking to enhance this aspect of membership advantages. For a full list of these member benefits, check out our new website, which will launch July 1st. Now, at this point, I would like to invite any member to come forward. www.abacanada.com.
So Liz, on behalf of myself and the L'Oreal Group, we'd like to call on the ABA to establish a committee to investigate the implementation of a national group pension fund and a group social and health benefit fund for all workers and businesses in the professional beauty industry in Canada.
Jack, can you ask for a second, please?
Sorry. I have a second on that, please.
So we have Kelly Kalmbach for a seconder. Is there any discussion? Motion carried. Thank you so much, Jack. We look forward to working with L'Oreal and all our members on this new initiative and others that are coming our way. Thank you.
Okay, the fun part of the meeting. Sorry, what's that? Sorry, are there any other initiatives that anybody would like to bring forward? No? Okay, thank you. Number 19, actually, invitation to the 2018 annual general meeting. We're going to run a little video so that we can show you what we'd like to do. Montreal. So just in keeping what we've done in the past, I guess we've always really rotated it between Montreal and Toronto, and we find that that's when we really get our best turnout to the AGM as well, and to the meetings. We've tried other destination places within Canada, but we've always had sort of a poor turnout. So I guess we have a unanimous support at this point, actually, by the board during our meetings yesterday, to take the AGM back to Montreal in 2018. So I'd like to actually put a motion on the floor, or ask someone to put a motion on the floor to accept Montreal as the 2018 destination for the AGM. Stephen, second by? We don't have dates. We'll, within the next few weeks, confirm the dates with you as well. Liz will be sending out a communication. Dates are sometimes really picky when we really have to know what's happening around, you know, is there like this weekend an Orlando show that we overlooked? So we really want to make sure that we have the right weekend picked out. But it'll be sometime in June, probably the third week of June or something is what we're thinking at this point. Can I have a seconder? Sorry? Jean-Paul, second by Jean-Paul. Any discussion at this point? Al? Well, that just to give you a little bit of insight in that as well, we actually thought the same thing when we were sitting around the table yesterday. We did this actually in order to actually piggyback onto the event that Joan was having tomorrow, supposedly. That changed at the last minute. We did try to change this AGM so that we could have changed the weekend as well, but we are so far committed into the contract that we couldn't get out, so we realized that. So going forward, we're not going to use that was one of our benchmarks. We're going to make sure that the membership is available and that everyone is able to come to the meeting as well. And changing dates, yeah, we also, as we looked at it, we says, you know what, we need to include more of the cosmetologists within this organization as well. And when you pick a Friday and a Saturday, and those are the two busiest days that they have within their salon, you know, they're not going to show up. So we thought probably what we'd like to do, and there'll be more to come, we were going to have the Sunday board meeting. The welcome would be on the Sunday night, and then we'd actually hold the AGM on the Monday when everybody's free to come. So yeah, we've taken that into consideration as well. But please stay tuned.
The other point, I think we should try to include the French translation when it's held in Toronto. I think they would send a message to Quebec that they're
We did consider the French translation for Toronto, but in sake of keeping within the budget, we couldn't really bring them in. But as we go back into Montreal, definitely we will have the translation available. So going forward, that's a good consideration. We will keep that at the top of our list as well, but thank you for suggesting that. We decided to live stream the event today rather than do that, so we'll see how that was tuned into, and then we'll stay tuned for more. Okay. So we need lights next year. We'll see if it's in the budget. Kevin isn't here, so I can't comment to that, but we'll go out into Home Depot and get some lights so that we can be shining stars. But thank you for the recommendation. Any further discussion on the 2018 AGM to be held in Montreal? I'll ask for a vote at this point. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very, very much. Oh, was there something I missed? Sorry.
Yeah, although just an additional comment when you talked about the Sunday and then the Monday and making sure that the cosmetologists are included, there was also some discussion about, and to be determined was the hair show piece.
Sunday.
On the Sunday night.
Yeah, there was another component actually. We thought that we would probably do industry or manufacturer event on the Sunday night to attract the cosmetologists to come to the meeting as well. Sponsored by some of our major manufacturers that would attend as well, to be confirmed as well. But that would probably draw more cosmetologists into the event as well. Thank you, Brian, for that. because we need cosmetologists to be part of the association going forward if we need to survive. Okay, new business at this time. Is there any new business on the floor that anybody would like to table? No new business. We do have a couple of things, actually. We have some plaques for some outgoing board of directors that we'd like to present at this time. I'm going to ask Anthony Zachariah actually to come up so that we can do the presentation for you. Congratulations and thank you for serving on the board and for relieving the There's one other thing that I need to take care of, and I know that the name Trump doesn't sit well with a lot of people, so they were actually quite nice enough to do something for us this weekend, actually, which I found was very, very touching. And what it is, actually, it's a gift certificate to cover a one-night stay at this Trump hotel again, so they really wanted you to come back. It's a one-night stay for two in a deluxe one-bedroom suite, continental breakfast for two, valid from Friday to Sunday as well. The details of this and how it happened, I guess Liz maybe can explain how it came to be, actually. And then we're going to do a draw, actually. We have the names of everybody who stayed here that's eligible to win that. So we're going to do a little draw for you.
So while working with the Trump Hotel, we were trying to, of course, encourage attendance to our annual general meeting, and they were generous enough to offer us this amazing gift certificate. So an email went out and a MailChimp to all our members stating that if you stayed at the hotel for 2 nights consistently together, you were entered in the draw. So I have everybody's name here, and I would like to call someone up to come and pick the name.
Yeah, and just the value, just to give you what the value of that is, it's a $900 appreciation from the Trump Hotel as well. So we'll get someone to pick that for us. Drum roll. And the winner is Edward Slattery. This is the best part of the meeting. We're on number 21, where I would like to put a motion on the floor to adjourn the annual general meeting of 2017. Kevin Rennie, second by everyone? Oh. Dino, all in favor? Discussion? Closed. Thank you very much. I'm just going to do a little bit of, before we all get up and run away, that I know we all probably didn't give you a little break this morning, just to let you know what's going on. We're about 10 minutes behind schedule. We were hoping to be done at 10:45 this morning. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes to go out, grab your coffee. I'm going to invite everybody to come back in here within 10 minutes. So let's try to be back here at 11:10. I know we're running a little bit behind. We're going to be introducing this afternoon breakout sessions at that time so that you have a little more info of what's going to be going on and how we're going to approach the afternoon. And I also want to remind everyone that the first bus pickup at the hotel for this evening will be at 6 p.m. for the chairman's dinner on the boat cruise as well. So we'll see you back here at 11:10. Thank you. We need to do. Just sorry, one thing. Can I get the board members to stay behind so that we can do our photo as well? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to get started with this session so that we don't cut into lunch, because then we're going to have to cut that short, and I know how everybody likes to have lunch. So at this point, I'm going to introduce to you Michelle Persay. Michelle Persay actually has teamed up with the ABA. She runs the Canadian training company that we spoke to you about earlier, or corporation, CTC, known as CTC. She's going to help us actually give us an introduction as to the topics that we'll be covering off this afternoon and the breakout sessions. And she's got some industry speakers and guest speakers as well. And we'll try to keep it on track. We'll try to keep it to 12 o'clock. So thank you and welcome, Michelle.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I am so passionate about this industry. I graduated from hairstyling school in 1981, and I have had the incredible honor and unbelievable experience of a lifetime working in this industry. I am delighted to be working with the ABA on a number of initiatives that I'm going to share with you in the next while. And as Aldo mentioned this afternoon, what we're going to do as a working group is take some of those initiatives and really try to break out and get your ideas and leave at the end of the day with everyone's input on how we can bring the ABA, bring to the ABA a whole membership of cosmetologists, hairstylists, makeup artists, beauty professionals. And, you know, when I heard Gordon talk about some of the stuff that's happening in regulatory with manufacturing and distributors and cosmetics and DIN numbers and all that kind of stuff, what we want to do is take all those kinds of issues that relate to business owners, hairstylists, and beauty professionals and really help them to go to the next level in this industry and upskill our profession, create standards and opportunities for learning and collaboration. So I think you'll... Did I just hear myself? So thank you, and here we'll get started. Where's my little clicker? Is this it? Thanks, I didn't get any training before. So just a little bit about why I am part of this initiative. I was Director of Education at L'Oreal for the Redken Division and learned a lot about learning and training. I think that's where I really developed a passion for learning. I've been a salon and spa business consultant, worked all across North America helping businesses make money, which is a challenge in this industry, I think you'll all agree. Was a member of the Career Colleges Ontario board for about 4 years, and that's where I met my business partner, Eddie Delamora, who's in the back. We worked together at Canadian Training Company and have evolved from mainly educating in the beauty industry to working with a number of different types of companies all across Canada. So we've had an incredible journey working in the online space. You'll hear a little bit about some of the projects we've been working on. I was on the Hairstyling and Aesthetics Standards Committee in Ontario through that board membership, and very familiar with the regulatory pieces with MTCU and licensing, as well as school regulatory issues. I owned a couple of private career colleges over the last 10 years, and again, co-director of Canadian Training Company. So a pleasure again to be here. So here are the 4 initiatives that we're working on. One of them, which I think is the most exciting, is an ABA Learning Center. It's an online portal that allows us to provide extensive amount of learning and education all across Canada. I think one of the issues, we have all kinds of opportunities for people to come and learn, and for sure in our industry, hands-on is very important. But there are thousands and thousands of stylists and beauty professionals across Canada that have limited access to education, information, even when there are changes with rules or policies related to our industry. There's really not a way for them to get that communication. So through this portal, we'll be able to do that. We're going to talk a little bit about licensing and regulation. I think most of you know that that's a big issue for our industry right now, especially in Ontario. Education and certification events, and a little bit about recruiting. I think, again, another challenge in our industry where we have a lack or a decline in people coming into the industry, and we want to change that. And we also have an issue where we have tons of students coming into the industry and they don't stay for very long, and we want to change that. So this is a little mock-up of what the ABA Learning Center could look like. I will tell you it'll look even prettier. But just to give you an idea, how many of you are familiar with online learning or used online learning? Okay, great. That's awesome. It's not really that new, but I think for a lot of companies, it's still a huge challenge to implement online, especially into a skills-specific type of learning environment. So we're looking at a number of categories. Again, this is really just a mock-up with some ideas. And the way it would work, we could have all kinds of content. Live content, we can live stream and then turn it into a course. We can have manufacturer and distributor content available. Could be at an additional cost. We can have free content and all different kinds of categories, and that library would continue to grow. So this model is based on a project that Canadian Training Company has been working on for about 4 years with Staples Canada. We opened classrooms in Staples stores as a pilot project about 3.5 years ago, and through that process learned a lot about we found that it wasn't scalable to bring it across the country because it was very costly. And like what happens to all of us when we have hands-on type of education, people would come in to learn Excel, for example, and it was a snowstorm, and then no one showed up, and it got kind of crazy. So we decided that we would transition to an online model, and so for the last 1.5 years, our library has been available at Staples stores across Canada. So if you go in and buy a device, they may ask you if you would like to buy a subscription to learning. So we're going to just do a little sample of what that looks like. Excel obviously is a little different than maybe learning something about hairstyling or makeup, but the concept I think is similar. Can we turn that up a bit? So basically it's screen capture with voiceover. And the way it works is you can, for these particular courses, they're all very short little almost like YouTube version. So Excel has 100 videos, it's about 3 hours. At the end, you can write an exam and print a certificate. So really, really important to have that ability if you're needing a credential, for example, for your job. The other piece that goes with it is it's obviously accessible 24/7. So if you've taken the course, but then you forget how to do something.
And that leaves us with the View tab. The View tab gives us options to adjust our workbook views. We work in normal view, but there are some other views that we can use to see how things are looking. Page break preview, page layouts.
Eddie, could you tap into the exam or what that looks like just quickly? So imagine health and safety, for example, easily accessible to anyone across the country and able to go through. So if it was important or relevant, depending on the role within the business or organization, your manager or supervisor could ensure that you've had that learning based on being able to complete the exam and do a certificate. So it's quite unlimited what this product can do and how engaging it can be as well. Okay, thanks. Can I just click now? So what we're looking at, and again, these are just some ideas that we've put out there. We're hoping this afternoon we'll have a lot of clarity around what all of you think is most important priorities. So membership-based training, health and safety, bookkeeping for salons and spas. We've had a bookkeeping course through our Staples project, but the model in the course is a bakery. So we are transitioning that and turning it into a salon or spa model. So the example will be very relevant for the industry. So simple bookkeeping. Coaching and mentoring, there's a huge, I think, lack of support for people coming into the industry, and whoever is supervising that apprentice, for example, I think there's a lot of opportunity to help them become better coaches and mentors. And if we, look at what we talked about last night, and the concept that Fabio Sementilli really wants us to embrace, it's really about knowing how to coach and mentor our talent in this industry. So online certificate training, i.e. train the trainer, social media. So again, these are just some ideas to give you, but we're hoping to have a solid plan this afternoon as to what we focus on first and develop first. Okay. I'm clicking. Thanks. How many of you are familiar with Red Seal? You know what Red Seal is? Wow, that's amazing. So Red Seal, just as a quick explanation, although Starlet's going to help explain that much further, is a standard in the trades. So it applies to a number of trades, and it is the gold standard in Canada. So the best example I can use is, you're all familiar with a cordon bleu chef, right? If you know that that chef has had cordon bleu training, you know he's the highest standard. So in Canada, the highest standard for a hairstylist is Red Seal. The challenge we have is that every province has their own regulations, their own licensing. Some have, some don't. Some provinces, Red Seal is mandatory, others it's optional. And really what it does is allow an interprovincial standard. So if I live right now in Ontario and I want to move to Alberta, for example, if I don't have Red Seal, I may have to write that exam or redo that exam. If I have Red Seal, I can move to any province and be eligible to practice. So it allows for interprovincial movement as well, but it's a recognition that you've met that standard. What will happen is eventually, and the way Red Seal works in the culinary industry is it's not a mandatory trade. It's not called mandatory, meaning that I can operate as a chef without Red Seal, but mainly in private organizations. So if I want to work as a chef in an institution like a jail or a nursing home that's publicly, it's a public institution, I have to be Red Seal certified. And what you're going to see is that's what's going to happen. Over the next few years, provinces are harmonizing, and we need to support our stylists and help them become Red Seal certified. On that note, I would love to introduce our speaker to talk a lot more about that. She's been a big part of the implementation of Red Seal in BC and has really gone through that phase over the last few years. She's a consultant, hairstylist, an auditor for PTIB, and she has developed a apprenticeship model in BC and has been part of that whole initiative. So welcome, Starlet Tover. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not used to standing behind something to talk. Now, I've had a quick peek at the slideshow, just a very fast one, and it's up there to keep me on track because I have just a little bit of that squirrel DNA, and I just bounce all over. So, I'm going to this morning talk about Red Seal, what it is, and how it's going to impact us and our industry. So I wonder if I could use that one, because I can't stand still. This is crazy. Yeah, this is on. Is this okay? All right. There's two things that I want us to keep in mind as we think about the information that I'm going to deliver today. The first one, we haven't heard yet today, is the ABA mandate. Okay, if everyone's gone to the website and read it, and I just want to refamiliarize us with that. The ABA mandate says it is to provide support for its members, monitor industry standards, and encourage goodwill, mutual respect, and understanding between its members and the public. Additionally, the ABA's role is to liaise between the beauty professionals and the government at federal, provincial, and municipal levels. So it's ABA's job to represent us at every level of government. Right? Pretty interesting position there. The other thing that I want to review so that we have that top of mind is who we actually are as stakeholders. Okay? Why are we considered stakeholders? The primary reason that a person or entity becomes involved in anything, okay, which we're talking about ABA, is for the beneficial outcome that their involvement brings to them and their organization. So at the end of the day, the question is always, what's in it for me? Right? So what is in it for me when we look at Red Seal? Red Seal is a program we have in 1952. The government knew that in a few years there was going to be an influx of people that needed work. Okay, so they had a little meeting and they decided that they would send one representative from every province and 2 government officials to sit in a room and decide how we could support the baby boomers that were about to hit the market. Okay, so 1957, we had 4 times more people looking for work and needing to be trained. That's when Red Seal was born. Okay, so today across Canada, we have 400 Red Seal trades that are looked after. One of the strange parts of the Red Seal program is that the Canadian Council of Directors of Apprentices have no authority over the program. That's the name of the group, the 15 people. Right? It's the provincial government in each province or territory that calls all the shots. So these people come together, they make all these decisions, suggestions for improvements, and then they have to go back to their province and hope that the province agrees with the council to implement them. So some provinces do and some provinces don't. Everybody wants to have their little regional differences. So that is why the last meeting that they had in 2015, CCDC, right, the council said, oh, let's back up because in 8 years, we're going to have 40% of our labor force gone. Right? Baby boomers are all retiring. What are we going to do? We have to be able to fill that void. So we have to redesign this program. So what they said, let's make everything consistent across the country and allow for people coming into the country to challenge, to be able to use their credentials as well as part of the program. So for us in our industry, we're seeing, I'm in a very high population of immigrants, right? I think Toronto and Vancouver are the biggest, right? So we have ESL issues for certifying people. We have big differences in training models. So by harmonizing the standards across the country, we're going to be able at the same time to have any people from outside of the country applying be able to meet that same standard through additional training. Where are we here? Where's our little doodad? See how I go? So, yeah, don't show me anything shiny, God forbid. So Red Seal's #1 priority is harmonization. 2020 is the date. Hairdressing will require the same number of hours and the same practical exam across the country. They'll have the same technical training, that basic foundation. Okay, so schools are more than welcome to add whatever else they would like to the program, but that core curriculum must be consistent across the country. The number of hours required in the trade must be consistent. Right now, luckily, our written exam is. It's the same coast to coast. And when we look at the little differences, we're really only looking at the difference of a couple hundred hours between some of the provinces and a few competencies on the practical exam. Okay? So harmonization is goal #1. Employer engagement. Nothing works in apprenticeship unless employers get involved in the process. So what we need is for employers to be educated on how to add those apprentices and add income to the bottom line. Okay, there's a way to make money with them and not have them cost you money. So part of what the ABA can support is showing its members how to do that. Right? But we're really looking for employers to get involved in the process across the country. Standards and assessments is something that we're going to have to come to consensus with across the country. And as stakeholders, how is any of this affecting you in the room? Okay. When we look at standards and assessments, each Red Seal candidate must have a practical assessment. Well, in my province, we chose to go with mannequins because we want to be as objective as possible and have as much consistency as we can get. So it's the same head for every candidate in the room. Can you imagine? Right now in Canada, we have 137 professionals that we know of registered in the hairdressing industry. Okay. There's about 60,000 of them that still need to do the practical assessment in order to reach their Red Seal.
So we started 137,000?
Thousand.
Thank you. I was like 137,000.
Thousand.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So if those 60,000 people, if the country went to mannequins for every province, can you imagine the mannequin manufacturers? Yeah. 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 And then everybody needs specific equipment for that exam. Right? Oh, really? Yeah. I know. I'm just about done. So you can see how that one little point can permeate through the industry. Right? And just multiply that by every aspect that we have. So we can see we're supporting the standardization and the harmonization of Red Seal through the country is going to be good business for everybody, right? Especially the industry. So,
pardon? How do you propose to have all the provinces online with this when Quebec, for example, is deregulated?
Yeah,
thanks.
How do we...
The question was, how do you plan on standardizing across the country when some provinces are deregulated, like Quebec? So if I could just make, because in the essence of time, what I'd love to suggest, if you do have any questions, maybe just make a note of them, and then we're in the working session this afternoon, we can really delve into those conversations, because otherwise, I think
because they really
we'll be late for
deserve
lunch.
more conversation, right? Because there's a lot involved. Yeah. So just one last point. Red Seal for hairdressing is a designated trade. Across the country, we have about 60,000 barbers that could definitely be designated and become a trade. And then we have nail techs, and then we have makeup artists. So there's a lot of potential here to be able to support the industry, put regulation in place, and protect the public. Right? Huge part.
The only people that are regulated right now and licensed, especially in Ontario, are just hairdressers.
Yeah, so we have, yeah, let's put that in this afternoon, and we have lots of goals, right? It's going to be an awesome afternoon. Thank you so much, and we'll get through.
Thanks, Starlet. Okay. Standards, increased mobility. So our next speaker, also related to standards and licensing, is John Poirier. John is the program standards manager for the College of Trades. How many of you are familiar with what the College of Trades is? Yeah, okay, great. So College of Trades is the, well, John's going to explain to you probably way more effectively than I can, but they license stylists, so that's where stylists register, and they're licensed in Ontario. The Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities is responsible for the apprenticeship program. So just to give you a bit of perspective, we have 2 regulators in Ontario, and they work under different government bodies. So John, welcome. No, that's okay. You're welcome to come up. I just wanted to mention that, yeah, he's the guy in Ontario that knows everything about what's to come and is here to share it with you. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I know we don't have a lot of time. If you want to make lunch by 12, and I think there's one more speaker after me. So any questions you have, like Michelle said, just collect them in the afternoon, and she'll come meet with us for a debrief, and then we'll try to get you all the answers. So thanks very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. Interesting choice of venues, but if you want to make the ABA great again, I guess it's a good choice. If you probably noticed a bit of an accent, I am from the East Coast. I'm from the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, but I've been living here for about 15 or 20 years. And just so you know, when all of you folks die and go to heaven, you're going to be able to pick out the Newfoundlanders right away. And you know why? Because we're the only ones asking to go home. So I have a lot of information. I know I'm not going to get through it all. Thanks for the introduction. So the College of Trades is fairly new in Ontario. Apprenticeship used to be managed by the Ministry of Training, Colleges and Universities, which changed its name last year to the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development. And as if that wasn't complicated enough for us as a new regulatory college, we now report to the Ministry of Labor as a parent body, but we still deal with the ministry on apprenticeship. So you have these 3 groups, and so there's a lot of gray area still until we sort it all out. The quicker the College of Trades takes over more of the apprenticeship in Ontario, I think the better it will be for everybody. We are actually right now the largest regulatory college in North America. We have about 230 or 40,000 members, including folks in the hairstylist trade. We have about 34,000 paying members of the college. Journey people, apprentices, and people in what's called a journey person candidate class. So when you complete your apprenticeship, you move into that class and you have 1 year to write and pass that exam to become certified. It is a compulsory trade, which means you have to be certified in order to do the work. You know, there's a lot of misnomers out there about the barbering trade, and I know some jurisdictions have that as a trade. It used to be a trade in Ontario up until, I think, the early 90s. And the ministry did grant an exemption right now from membership at the college for those who are licensed as barbers. But those barbers refer to the about 1,100 barbers who were issued a CFQ back in the early 90s. It does not include anybody who's starting up a business as a barber right now, because that is part of a compulsory trade. What the ministry is going to do about that, what the government is going to do about that is yet to be determined, but basically that exemption is in place for another 2 years, I think until 2019. So a little bit about the organization, we have a very complex governance structure. We have 21 members on a board of governors. We have 4 divisional boards representing each sector, and hairstyling is in the service sector. And we also have about 50 trade boards that are populated. And, you know, I met with Liz and Michelle about your AGM, and I was excited to come here because I've been working very closely with the Hairstylist Trade Board for the past few years now. And, you know, when it comes to the passion for the trade, and you know what you folks perform on a daily basis, I would stack them up against any of our construction trades, which are usually the most vocal. But you know, they really want to. They've worked so hard to establish a standard for their trade, for their industry, and we are the regulator, and we're going to try our best to make sure that it is enforced. The regulations are enforced. We have almost 50 enforcement officers on the ground floor right now, and part of their job is to go around and check the people that are doing work in compulsory trades to make sure they have the training and certification to perform the work. Our largest mandate is to protect the public interest. Of our 156 trades in the Act, 23 are compulsory. We just added the sprinkler fitter trade to that inventory in February. Hairstylist has been a compulsory trade for many, many, many years. And like Michelle said, and others have said, we don't offer the Red Seal endorsement here in Ontario currently. And we're hoping that's going to change within the next year, because when that standard was created, the ministry could never figure out a way to get it done, and we've been trying to do it for about 3 or 4 years, so I understand why. It's because the size of our industry here. You know, we have more training providers than any other jurisdiction. The number of companies that are operating, the number of people that are working in the sector is huge to try to coordinate all that. So I think really right now I'm interested in talking to Starlet a little bit about what happened in BC. I know we've been working with BC a little bit over the last few years to see how they did it. Right now it's down to who's going to be collecting the money and paying the examiners to basically run the apprenticeship, or sorry, the practical examination. So right now I serve as the director on the Canadian Council of Directors of Apprenticeship for Ontario. I've been doing that since last year. And I also sit on the Interprovincial Standards and Examinations Committee, which really is the engine for CCDA, because they do all of the work. All of the product development workshops are set up through ISEC, and all of the standards workshops, and all of our certification exams. Harmonization is a big topic for us right now. Ontario's problem at the very beginning for harmonization is the fact it was moving way too fast at the very beginning. They tried to harmonize 10 trades right off the bat, and we wanted to build it into our regular program cycle, which means a standard gets updated every 4 to 5 years. And you know, it's one thing for a jurisdiction to join in harmonization when you have one training provider for your whole province. We have 24 public colleges, we have multiple union training delivery agencies, and lots of private career colleges who offer apprenticeship training. So to try to, you know, manage all that, especially for a new organization like OCOT, has been very challenging. There are 2 trades in Canada where you need to have both a written assessment and a practical exam, or sorry, a written exam in order to gain certification. And welding is the other one, and of course hairstylist is the second. And we do have a practical exam right now for hairstylists, and we're just trying to fine-tune how we're going to collect the money and how we're going to pay the examiners. And there's a lot of support now in our organization. And so I would even invite some folks from the ABA and Liz, Michelle, to come to our next trade board meeting for the hairstylist trade, so we can talk about how we can bring this home. It's unfortunate right now that people in Ontario who want a Red Seal endorsement, after they pass their written exam, they have to go to Manitoba or some other jurisdiction to challenge that practical exam. We have conducted a number of pilots, I would say about 6 so far, where we are taking people who have already passed the Red Seal exam, and we're putting them through pilot projects where they do the practical assessment, and we are actually giving them a Red Seal endorsement. We have about 45 people right now that we've certified, and we're going to be doing more because these people are the ones that are going to be our examiners when we actually roll out this. So anybody who's going through the apprenticeship program will have to do that practical in the 3rd level of their in-school training. And anybody who's coming in through the assessment division is going to have to pass that exam and do the practical assessment in order to gain certification, period. Not just for a Red Seal endorsement, but period. And, you know, some folks will complain about that as another layer that you have to go through, but for the people who are invested in this trade and every other trade under our Act, it's a way to prevent all those people out there, the fly-by-nighters who call themselves carpenters, who call themselves electricians, who call themselves hairstylists, and don't have the training and the certifications to prove they are who they say they are, and they have the skills they say they have. If you go to our public register, which we have on our website, if you are a registered apprentice in Ontario for any trade that's under the Act, you have to be a member of the College of Trades in good standing. And if you are a certified journey person in any one of the 23 compulsory trades, you have to be a member of the College of Trades. So if you think about protecting the public interest and you think about consumers, if I come to you and I tell you I'm a carpenter and you give me a contract to work on your home, but I don't know how to do the work, and it ends up being worse than what it was before, then guess what? You have no recourse because you didn't do your homework. You go to our public register and you can find out if these people are who they say they are. So it is raising the standard for every one of those trades, including hairstylist. I was talking to the lady next to me and she was asking me about esthetician. And it is not a regulated trade in Ontario right now, but if you think about protecting the public interest, there's another area that we might want to focus on in the future. We have about 50 groups right now, 50, more than just 50 organizations, because we have many groups and organizations in each one of these requests who have come to us who want to make that a new trade in Ontario. So we actually have set up a queue right now, and we're going to be developing a proposal package for any new trade that wants to be regulated in Ontario. At the same time, we're also probably going to be deregulating some trades because we have some trades with zero activity just because of the way technology is advanced. We don't have many swine herds persons left in Ontario, or horse harness makers, or a few like that. It's just that technology is changed so much that you know, they're just not around anymore. Pardon? Alberta does. Some jurisdictions do, yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to go into a lot of the other components of the trade here, the number of hours and stuff like that. You know, those questions will come up later, and we'll certainly get you all the information about how many hours it takes to be certified, how much training you have to go through, and all that sort of stuff. I do want to mention a little bit about the examination, the certification exam itself. I'm always surprised by how little people know about the actual standard for their trade and the certification process. And even those folks who go through an apprenticeship program, they don't even know what the examination is based on. And for Red Seal trades, it's based on the National Occupation Analysis, which is developed through CCDA. And we have people coming to us who can't pass the exam who say they've never heard tell of the NOA. So there's definitely a lack of information at the very beginning when people sign up, no monitoring all the way through, and certainly no counseling just before you go to write that exam about what you have to study in order to prepare. I had a chance to speak to the heads of apprenticeship training a few weeks ago, And these were all of the curriculum advisory committees through the public colleges. All their deans of apprenticeship were there. And they have a 9th week of training right now, which they tack on to their last week of schooling, the 8-week block. And for the most part, it is all funded by the government, but it's mainly just teaching people how to answer multiple choice questions and that sort of thing. So I said, you know, that's all great, you need that, but if you don't understand what the content is that you need to be studying, then, you know, it's all for naught. And we do have an exam counselor on staff right now. We're trying to help people who can't pass the exam, setting them up with mentors and basically getting them the right documents they need in order to prepare for that exam.
On that note, is there a failure rate that's an issue right now?
I would say,
For example, I know it's pretty high.
yeah, we have that a fairly high failure rate in many trades, and you know, sometimes the size of our economy in Ontario is a blessing and it's a curse, because you know there's usually lots of employment, but sometimes companies can make a living by doing a niche part of a trade. And so the exam for all of our trades is based on the full scope of the trade. So if you're only doing a part of the trade and you go in and sit down and try to write that exam, there's no way you can pass because you haven't been exposed to the full scope of the trade. So an interesting concept that might work in your sector is something that unions do really well in construction. They have what's called local training funds. And when apprenticeship contracts are signed, they're not signed with the companies, they're signed with the training fund. And that allows the training fund, and I know because I worked for one of these for 21 years, we could take apprentices from one company and we could place them with another company to make sure they were getting exposed to the full scope of the trade. We're starting to see some sectors now create consortiums, like the Home Builders Association. They have a lot of non-union builders, and they're starting to set up these committees so they can move apprentices around. Maybe some salons don't offer the full scope of the trade. Maybe, you know, you can work out a way to share. And some companies may not want to do that because they've trained somebody, now they have the potential to lose them, but that's going to happen anyway. And that's the big disadvantage Canada has compared to Germany and some other countries. We just don't have the culture of apprenticeship here, where employers, government, industry, regulators are all buying into the same program. So anyways, I know you have another speaker. I seriously could be up here for a long time because there's much to talk about. Thanks very much for inviting me, and I'll be happy to answer your questions when they come forward.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So no doubt he could be here for a week. It's incredibly complex, and I think is going to be one of the biggest impacts on our industry over the next 3 to 5 years. And you know, those kinds of challenges I like to call opportunities, and I think we have an opportunity as an association to really help our industry become incredibly skilled and to support the training and provide owners. I think one of the biggest challenges, you would probably agree, your clients as owners running a business, they're marketing, they're doing inventory, they're managing people, and training often gets left behind. So if we can help owners train their new talent, we will be a successful country with hairstyling. So I have a lot of slides to click through because I think John didn't know where the button was. Is it working? Okay, that's why. You might have tried to click it and it didn't work. All right, so could we just back up one more slide maybe? Yeah. College resources and supports. All right, thank you. So the next part is education and certificate events. So one of the things we'd like to do is exactly, what we talked about, pool resources and provide incredible training combined with online, so something that will support at a live event, like a BeautyEx. There are a lot of training funds available across Canada. If you're familiar, there's a program called the Canada Job Grant that's available in every province except for Quebec. And it provides employees up to $10,000 per person for training, and basically it's the employer that gets subsidized. It's an incredible program, and what we would like to do is come up with a number of standard programs so people can come and get training and actually get recognition and a certificate. So Red Seal would be the highest standard, but it would be nice to know that, at each level for a stylist, there some recognition and ability to, and that's what people want. They're investing in learning, and they want to know that they have some kind of recognition with it. Those kinds of programs can also be live streamed and can be cut then into courses with examinations and other pieces. So it's like a huge puzzle and doesn't nearly cut it, this short conversation. But besides all, whether we talk about styling or other types of training for business owners, mentoring and so on, there's all kinds of other things going on in our industry where we can collaborate with different organizations, again, to bring incredible training. So one of those organizations that we're going to talk to today is Look Good, Feel Better. I'd like to introduce Dee Diaz, and she's going to tell you a little bit about some of the initiatives that Look Good, Feel Better has and wants to bring to our industry. You can read a little bit of what she's about, an amazing lady. And welcome, Dee. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for having us here. We're thrilled to share with you the impact of your investment and your commitment over the years. So let me just give you a quick overview. You'll see that for those of you who have known us for the last 25 years, our look is a little bit different. But the goal is to showcase that we have a long legacy of helping women fight cancer with confidence and hope. But we've evolved that to also recognize that really we're helping women feel more like themselves. And I think we can all relate to that because there are days that we wake up that you just don't feel like yourself. Imagine the amplification of that as you go through cancer treatment. What is interesting as we look at what's happening in the community with cancer is that the number is on the rise. We also know that despite great research and great medical advancements, women are getting multiple diagnoses, and they're also living longer with cancer. And the challenge with that is there's a lot of investment in research, a lot of investment in medical technology, but there's a significant gap around psychosocial support. There's only about 3% of funding that does support programs like a Look Good, Feel Better. So the bottom line is we can't do that without you. What we want to share with you is that we see about 9,500 women in Canada each year with close to 1,400 workshops in over 100 cancer care centers and hospitals in this country. Since the beginning of our inception of 1992, we have served over 200,000 women. So we're quite proud of what we've been able to achieve. But what I can say as somebody who's new to the organization is that it is a hidden gem. I'm not sure if you know, but to get space in hospitals is very difficult. So the fact that we are in 100 hospitals and very few other organizations, if any, have the type of relationship and ability to deliver a program is very unique. So thank you for making that possible. One of the things as we talk to the women who do go to our workshop and their families is that there is this notion that women who are diagnosed with cancer ultimately become a cancer patient. They're no longer a great mom, or they don't see themselves as a great mom or a foodie or a yogi. They just become a cancer patient, and they live by their tests, their results, the numbers. And really what we try to do at the workshop, and I'm not sure if any of you have witnessed one or know somebody who's been through it, but to experience the moment that you feel more like yourself is actually quite simple but profound. And what I mean by that is, as we talk to the women who go to our workshop, they often talk about that they feel sick and they look sick and they retreat from their lives. Can you imagine not wanting to see your children, not wanting to go out with your partner, not engage in your community? But what we find is when women walk out of our workshops, they're reinvigorated to participate. You know, we often hear women say, I'm calling my husband to go out tonight for dinner. I'm looking to have fun with my kids tonight. And that's a simple thing, but ultimately something that these women deserve to participate and experience their life. So really at the end of the day, what we're talking about now is giving women back their womanhood, however they choose to define that. And when we did some research around this notion of womanhood, all of it came back as being fierce, as having perseverance, having the ability to do anything they choose to do. And that really resonates with a lot of the women we talk to who do participate in our workshop. So we're quite proud that we can facilitate this for these communities. We have a new website where you can find any of our workshops happening across this country. You know, one of the biggest ones we have here in Toronto is Princess Margaret. We run 8 workshops a month, which is not typical because we normally run either once a month or every other month in other communities. But Princess Margaret is busy and full, and that's an indicator for us that the work needs to happen and we need to continue to be able to grow. So what's next for Look Good, Feel Better? Well, listen, at the end of the day, we're currently only serving about 10% of women who are diagnosed with cancer each year. We believe we should be serving at least 25%, and we're looking to achieve that by 2022. We have started pilot programs with different communities, hard-to-reach communities, diverse communities. So for example, just last month, we ran our first Indigenous program for women and teens. And that's really a tip of the iceberg in terms of who we can be serving. And so we are looking to diversify our reach, and we can't do that without some of you in terms of referring the program and letting us know what communities need this kind of support. Lastly, we're looking to expand our program. You know, our program has been in existence for 25 years, and there's so much more we can do. And as we've done some research, the number one issue women always identify as soon as they're diagnosed is their hair. They contact their hairstylist, they talk to their friends who've been through it to understand what they can expect with hair loss. And we actually think that's a really great place for us to expand our program. It's a bit of a no-brainer, and actually, quite frankly, I'm not sure why we haven't expanded a long time ago. But this is really where we see we can play a role, and with the industry, get that level of support and integrate it more deeply into our programming. So we're excited to see how that evolves over the next couple of years. Now, because of ABA, we're very proud to share that through your support, we've been able to give over 100,000 women sleep caps. And so this is a cap that's been part of our kit. And, you know, we often ask why the sleep cap. And I'm sure some of you are aware of this, but ultimately it's about ensuring that women are more comfortable, that they have something that, in terms of some hair loss, it's in the cap versus on their pillow, which can be very disconcerting. And a lot of heat is lost through the head, so of course the sleep cap makes sense. And then if you don't want to use your wig for breathability, a sleep cap is a really great product. However, we're moving into looking at, well, how do we make a product that's not just about bedtime and something that they can use a little bit more generically? And this is based on feedback from the women who come to our workshop. So what we're looking to do is actually create, through your investment and support, is a buff. And you can see it's multi-use. And many of the women like this type of opportunity because they can bring it with them and use it for in a number of ways. Oops. So how are we going to showcase your support? As we've revamped all of our materials and our website and the way we're actually sharing our story, we'll be very proud to share ABA and its members' support through a number of ways, through either interviews in some of our media assets and partners, being able to add ABA's resources and connectivity on our own website, and lastly, to really be part of this larger national strategy around hair loss. So in 2017, we just have a couple of other ways that you can get involved with Look Good, Feel Better. And one of those ways is coming up on June 15th, which is Wink Day. We're really proud. This is a big campaign that we have. And so we're asking you to do up your eye, take a selfie, put it on social media. And for everyone that's tagged with hashtag Wink Day, Shoppers Drug Mart will donate $5. So really, we ask you to get involved and check us out on our website how you can participate. We also have our Mirror Ball. You know, this is a 25-year event. It's great, really brings the community together in terms of celebrating the industry's achievements in supporting and actually starting Look Good, Feel Better. So it's an incredible night, so if you're interested, join us. Lastly, this year we are celebrating our 25th anniversary of the program, and that's no small feat. And when you consider so many other programs out there who are struggling and working with other charities to try to manage. And so this year we're really celebrating the impact of real people. So mainly a lot of our volunteers and communities who run third-party events. And in fact, your industry is one of the ones that does do a lot of interesting events like cut-a-thons and just special initiatives that you may have through campaigns, and that's something that really supports us and, more importantly, gets our message out into the community about the work we're doing and how relevant it is for women. Because oftentimes, and this is an interesting note, is that as women, we don't choose ourselves first. And so the workshop is a reminder that through everything, through their diagnosis and treatment, that despite the fact that as women we would choose our kids, our partners, our jobs, our parents, we can give them the opportunity to choose themselves and, more importantly, see themselves again. So hopefully you'll find ways to get involved in our communities. So this, I just want to show you a quick video, and that would wrap your support.
So just, oh my gosh, are we just run it through? Ooh, okay.
Cancer can take a lot from a woman, including the woman herself. We help get it back. The joy, the pride, the beauty. It's the small things that can make a big difference. Like changes in patients we thought we'd never see. And moments they thought they'd never get back. We want women to feel like themselves again. To become who they always were. Let's give women back their womanhood.
So on behalf of Look Good, Feel Better, thank you so much for helping us give women back their womanhood, and we look forward to your continued commitment and investment in Look Good, Feel Better. Thank you.
Thank you, Dee, very much. So again, there's so much going on with Look Good, Feel Better that really has a huge impact on our industry, and we have the opportunity, again, to provide resources and training through the portal that can help hairstylists or any beauty professionals understand more about how they can help their clients who are diagnosed with cancer as well. So hopefully we'll have a couple of workshops or even some ideas on how to use those scarves or visuals that Look Good, Feel Better can provide us, that we can create that content that then becomes accessible. So if someone comes into your salon and you're really not sure what to do, you can go to that portal and learn all about how do I deal with someone who's just been diagnosed with cancer, what are their options with hair or wigs and things like that. So we're really excited about taking that relationship to the next level as well. So the last piece is around recruiting, which I think is, again, really a huge need in our industry. We have to collaborate together to help recruit new talent into our industry. We have to make the beauty industry known as a really viable career. Right now, I think for some of you, if your kid comes home and says, I want to be a hairdresser or makeup artist, you might have them, look at other options. And we want to be able to create a tool that helps schools, high schools, cosmetology teachers, parents, really have a clear picture of what the opportunities are and then provide through the training in the ABA, the fundamental steps, like career path, creating, how do I get there? What do I need to do to get, and Red Seal obviously is the gold standard, but what are the steps in between? Because we get someone in for the first year or two, and then they're gone, and this whole middle is falling apart. So how do we help to promote the beauty industry as a viable and exciting career for anyone who's interested, and then promote and support their learning through their career? The other two pieces are, again, taking a new person in the industry and helping them understand, other than the skills, what do I need to be successful? What do I need to do? What kind of skills do I need? No matter where I work, what company I work with, how can I be a successful hairstylist? And so things like understanding customer service and upselling and add-ons, that those are an important component to your success, measuring your success, building a clientele. And on the other hand, then helping those mentors or coaches or trainers to learn how to really help that new talent, take them under their wing. What do I do? It's nice to say that, but a lot of us really don't know how. When you see someone that maybe is not doing something perfectly or correctly, how do I coach them and guide them and keep them excited and not lose interest or feel like they're not going to be able to get there. It takes a long time to develop skills and become a great hairdresser, and those supports in between, I think, can really help to raise the bar and bring new people into our industry, which we really need. So I think that's it, other than this afternoon. Thank you so much. Really looking forward to our working session this afternoon, and we'll share with you the questions. Have a great lunch.
Just a couple of notes on closing. I just wanted to thank Michelle for the presentation. There's more to come this afternoon, so we encourage you to participate in that as well. Also, a thank you to John and Starlet for the presentation regarding both the apprenticeship program and Red Seal. And a special thank you also to Dee Diaz for Look Good, Feel Better presentation. Just a little bit of announcement here so that we know what's happening. Lunch is going to be served in that area where you had your little breakfast area this morning. Next door, the tables are set up so you can go there and have your lunch as well. I understand are we going to be back in here? Yeah. So we're going to give it 1:15. We'll give you about just under an hour so about 55 minutes for lunch. So we'll have you back in here for the breakout sessions at 1:15 sharp. Just if I can ask the board members this time and the past presidents just to stay for a photo, and then we'll join you for lunch in a moment. Thank you. And also, sorry, one more thing. The register book has Gordon, the legal advisor. Please sign the book on the way out so that we know that you were here at the meeting as well. Take your belongings with you because we're going to be shuffling the room a little bit around as well, please.